I recently went into a somewhat of a deep rabbit hole watching the BYU quarterback Zach Wilson, and I wanted to know whether or not I thought he was a first-round pick in the upcoming NFL draft. And I felt like if I was going to develop an opinion one way or another, I wanted to do some research because I wanted to feel very, very confident with what I was saying. And so I do feel very confident saying that Zach Wilson is absolutely going to be a first-round pick in the upcoming 2021 NFL draft. He's a really good quarterback. So far I count Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and then Zach Wilson will be coming off the board in April or whenever the NFL draft does happen, depending on COVID and yada, yada. And I would take Zach Wilson over the North Dakota State quarterback, Trey Lance. Trey Lance is a whole nother can of worms. I keep avoiding diving into that and explaining my opinion on Trey Lance. But I will say I am much lower on Trey Lance than I think a lot of other people are. I keep seeing rankings and a lot of stuff, and I go, Trey Lance, I don't really have Trey Lance where I think a lot of other people do. But again, I don't want to dive into that. I want to talk about Zach Wilson. So as we look ahead to the 2021 NFL draft, there's going to be a lot of teams that feel like they need a quarterback and that they want a quarterback. And that combined with the fact that Zach Wilson has put really, really good stuff on tape is why I think he's going to be a first-round pick. And Zach Wilson, to be honest, is my personal favorite quarterback to watch right now in college football. His style is so much fun. He can move around. He can extend plays. He's got tremendous feel for bodies around him in the pocket. He's got great mechanics. He's very accurate. He plays a very clean style of football, one that I think is enjoyable, and it results in very few negative plays. And Zach Wilson has also mastered his offense at BYU. It's really incredible to watch. Him and his receivers have such great chemistry. Zach, Dax Milne, Gunnar Romney, they are all 100% in sync with each other. And that leads to a lot of really, really entertaining football. I mean, I'm talking about back shoulder fades and jump balls and scramble drills where Zach will roll out right or left and a receiver will come back for the ball and make a cool catch along the sideline. And then it's also worth noting that Zach Wilson is very, very comfortable playing under center. You see a lot of college quarterbacks come out as they go to the NFL. They've only been in shotgun, catching a snap, 5 yards behind the center for their entire college career. And Zach Wilson is not one of those guys. He's been under center a lot. He's really comfortable doing play action and running a lot of NFL-style plays and style schemes. And then, I want to double down about something. I think that Zach Wilson is the absolutely best in college football at navigating the pocket. He's really, really great at handling a messy pocket with bodies around him. And then also, in a very similar style to Russell Wilson, he's really good at sliding and avoiding taking big hits. And that's also really important to have having longevity, I guess, in your career in the NFL is you want to avoid big hits, and Zach Wilson does. And so I think his three best attributes as a quarterback are his accuracy, his decision-making, and then his ability to extend plays. I can't say that enough. His accuracy, his decision-making, his mobility, they are a big deal that make him what I believe is going to be a first-round pick in the upcoming NFL draft. Now, I would say that Zach Wilson doesn't have the strongest arm in the world. He's not a guy like Josh Allen or Justin Herbert. But it's also really hard to find a way to criticize this guy. There's really not a lot you can criticize about his game. I think if arm strength is he throws a better ball than Gardner Minshew. He's got a more than good enough arm to play in the NFL. And so I don't know that criticizing his arm strength is enough, but I guess it is also worth saying he's not Josh Allen or Justin Herbert. His arm is not the biggest you've ever seen from a college quarterback. But neither was Joe Burrow, so I don't think he's got good enough, and that's all that matters to me. And so I think that Zach Wilson is going to be a first-round pick in the upcoming NFL draft. And then I guess as you look around the NFL, people should just pray and hope and really, really be concerned that you really hope that Zach Wilson doesn't get paired with a guy like Sean Payton or Kyle Shanahan and Eric Bieniemy. And I kind of say that jokingly because the reality is if that happens, if Zach Wilson can somehow find a way onto the 49ers or work with Sean Payton or a coach like Eric Bieniemy, with an offensive coach who's competent and really, really good, Zach Wilson could absolutely be a home run in the NFL. And that's why I say other teams would probably hope, man, if you are a Seattle Seahawks fan or a Cardinals fan or a Rams fan in that division, the NFC West, you hope and pray Zach Wilson doesn't fall to the 49ers because Kyle Shanahan, with Zach Wilson in his hands to mold and develop into a good quarterback, that's a really, really scary fit. Now, I don't know that that's going to happen. A lot of people, 49ers fans especially, are very, very excited. Oh, Zach Wilson, let's go. Let's see. And I don't think Zach Wilson's going to fall that far because, unfortunately, teams like, I think the Jets are going to want a quarterback. They'll probably have the number 1 pick and take Trevor Lawrence. Then you'll have Sam Darnold probably on the trading block. That's a team maybe that could get Sam Darnold as the 49ers. Then Jacksonville's probably going to take a quarterback. I think Washington's going to take a quarterback. I don't know how the San Francisco 49ers could possibly find a way to get Zach Wilson without trading up. Another team that's been talking about Zach Wilson is the Chicago Bears. I also don't think the Chicago Bears are going to have a high enough draft pick to get a quarterback like Zach Wilson. Now, I do think it's worth noting, I've talked a lot about good stuff Zach Wilson isn't doing. He's very, very competent. He's a really good quarterback. I think if you go look at the Houston tape, the Houston game was easily his worst game in 2020. He was actually losing 26-14 late in the third quarter or early in the fourth quarter. One of those two, like later in the game, in the second half, was losing 26-14. But what's funny about that is I say, like, that's one of his worst games of the year. He still ended up having, I think, exactly 400 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. And then early on, in that Houston game, he had a couple throws over the middle into traffic. He was lucky one wasn't picked off. And there were a couple times when I think you're forcing a throw. You're not being very patient. But despite the slow start and a couple problems early on in that game, actually, it's funny. What was his worst game of the year? Houston was a game I went, I really am uncomfortable here. This is probably the worst film I've seen of Zach Wilson. What was interesting is as that game went on, I also learned that Zach Wilson can handle adversity, which is important. I mean, you're not always going to have things go perfectly and exactly your way and be 100% and have a perfectly clean game. And so oddly enough, as I watched what was probably his worst game of the year, I felt incredibly encouraged because we saw, okay, hey, when things aren't exactly perfect, he can still fight through adversity and come back and keep swinging. And he actually came back from down 2 scores and then won the game 43-26. So for me, even though it was probably his worst game of the year, it actually was probably the most telling about who Zach Wilson is. It's easy to dominate when your team is better than everybody you play. But when you're in a moment where you're down 2 scores late in the second half and you got to fight back, that's very telling about a quarterback. Zach Wilson is the kind of guy who can do that. I love that complete moment. That was awesome. Now, I would say that I don't want to see Zach Wilson on the New York Giants or the New York Jets. I don't think he's a good fit on either team. I also don't think the swirling winds of that stadium, MetLife Stadium, is really a good fit for and a good match for Zach Wilson's arm talent. But I really believe that Zach Wilson absolutely is a first-round quarterback in the 2021 upcoming NFL draft. He will likely be the 3rd quarterback taken in the draft, I think behind Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and then Zach Wilson. Now, again, I want to repeat something. I've seen a lot of 49er fans, a lot of Bears fans. They are very, very interested in Zach Wilson, and I don't think he's going to be on the board long enough to fall to a team like that. I'm calling my shot early. I think Zach Wilson's going to go off the board to a team like the Jaguars or the Washington, they're not even the Redskins anymore, the Washington football team. I guess is that even offensive to say? I apologize if I offended anybody. It's, whatever. The Washington team. I don't think he falls that far. Washington, the Jaguars, the Jets, they're all going to pick quarterbacks. So I think 3 teams at the top of the draft are going to take a quarterback before a team like the Bears or the 49ers can scoop up and get Zach Wilson. So unless the 49ers trade up for Zach Wilson, they're not going to get him. But I got to say, oh my gosh, if somehow Kyle Shanahan can get his hands on Zach Wilson, that could be a really terrifying, really, really scary fit in the NFL. So keep your eye on Zach Wilson. He's a really good quarterback at BYU. I think absolutely he's a first-round pick. He's really, really good. And I'm glad I did the work. I did a lot of – I tried to condense all my film into just some interesting to hear stuff, but I feel very, very good about Zach Wilson. He's absolutely a first-round quarterback. He's got really good habits. He plays really clean football. He's very accurate. He can extend plays. He's one of those new wave quarterbacks who can move around outside of the pocket. And he doesn't necessarily run for a lot of yards, but he runs to extend plays from the pocket to the sideline, keeping the play alive. And I've really fallen in love with Zach Wilson. His style of play is so much fun for me. And so, again, absolutely Zach Wilson is a first-round pick in the upcoming 2021 NFL Draft.